Hey everybody, thought I'd make sure to do this a bit more often because I am the tabster. I love opening tabs and keeping articles open for sometimes a week, maybe two, because I haven't gone through the whole article. I just keep reading it part by part. All right, so no advertisements, Zerohedge. From Zerohedge, May 17, 2017, U.S. household debt surpasses 2008 high. Hits record 12.7 trillion by Tyler Durden. Total debt held by U.S. household reached $12.73 trillion in the first quarter of 2017, finally surpassing its $12.68 trillion peak reached during the recession in 2008, according to New York Fed's latest quarterly report on household debt. This marked a $479 billion increase from a year ago and up $149 billion from the fourth quarter of 2016 after 11 consecutive quarters of growth since the deleveraging period immediately following the Great Recession. The quick and dirty breakdown. Bullet point. Total household indebtedness stood at $12.73 trillion as of March 31st, 2017. This increase put overall household debt $50 billion above its previous peak, set in the third quarter of 2008, and 14.1% above the trough set in the second quarter of 2013. Bullet point. Mortgage balances, the largest component of household debt, reached $8.63 trillion as of March 31st, a $147 billion uptick from the fourth quarter of 2016. Bullet point, balances on home equity lines of credit fell slightly in the first quarter, down $17 billion to $456 billion. Bullet point, non-housing debt saw mixed changes, an increase of $10 billion in auto loans and $34 billion in student loan balances, and a $15 billion drop in credit card balances. Despite the new nominal all-time high on a relative basis, household debt remained below past levels in relation to the size of the overall U.S. economy. And in the first quarter, total debt was 66.9% of GDP, nearly 20% lower compared to 85.4% of GDP in the third quarter of 2008. More from Zerohedge.com. This I thought was interesting from Sciencedirect.com. Research Policy, May 2017, Volume 46, Part 4. Work Organization and Mental Health Problems in PhD Students. Katja Levesque and Frederick Ansel. And also there's Lydia Giselle, or a part of this. I'm pronouncing their names extremely European style because I'm presuming they were. It says Flanders, Belgium. So, highlights: 1 in 2 PhD students experience psychological distress. 1 in 3 is at risk of a common psychiatric disorder. The prevalence of mental health problems is higher in PhD students than in the highly educated general population. Highly educated employees and higher education students. Work and organizational context are significant predictors of PhD students' mental health. Abstract. Research policy observers are increasingly concerned about the potential impact of current academic working conditions on mental health, particularly in PhD students. The aim of the current study is threefold. First, we assess the prevalence of mental health problems in a representative sample of PhD students in Flanders, Belgium, n equaling 3,659. Second, we compare PhD students to 3 other samples. 1, highly educated in the general population, 769. 2, highly educated employees, 592. And 3, higher education students, 333. Third, We assess those organizational factors relating to the role of PhD students that predict mental health status. Results based on 12 mental health symptoms, GHQ 12, not sure, showed that 32% of PhD students are at risk of having or developing a common psychiatric disorder, especially depression. This estimate was significantly higher than those obtained in the comparison groups. Organizational policies were significantly associated with the prevalence of mental health problems, especially work-family interface, job demands and job control, the supervisor's leadership style, team decision-making culture, and perception of a career outside academia are linked to mental health problems. Keywords: mental health, GHQ 12, work organization, psychosocial working conditions, PhD students. Introduction 1.1 Mental health concerns at universities. In recent years, journalists, research policy observers, and academics have voiced concerns about the potential impact of research conditions in universities on mental health problems. The Economist, 2012, by Schillebeck et al., 2013, Sean Ward, 2014, and Phillips and Haywood Roos, 2015. These concerns are often related to recent shifts in the organization of academic research, such as increased workloads, intensification, and the pace of change. Example, Peterson et al., 2012, and Shen, 2015. For example, across OECD countries, the number of new PhDs, i.e. recipients of doctorate degrees, grew from 158,000 in 2000 to 247,000, 100,000. So it's 158,100,000 in 2000 to 247,100,000 in 2012, a rise of 56%. OECD 2014. Encouragement by government policy, both at the national and international levels, has led to increased participation rates in the PhD production process, Robothon, 2008. An unfavorable shift in the labor supply-demand balance, a growing popularity of short-term contracts, budget cuts, and increased competition for research resources may paint a bleak picture of academic careers for prospective PhD students. Biron et al., 2008, Peterson et al., 2012, Walsh and Lee, 2015. Although universities were traditionally regarded as low-stress environments, research on occupational stress among academics indicates that it is alarmingly widespread and on the rise. Bozeman and Gauguin, 2011, and Revie and Deason, 2014. Some studies suggest that stress is more prevalent in younger academics. See, for example, Kinman, 2001, a group that typically faces high levels of job insecurity. As a result, the media increasingly reports testimonies of depression and anxiety, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. However, the prevalence of mental health problems as shown in official registries remains low. National figures in 2012 for higher education in the UK, for example, shows that approximately 1 in 500 individuals disclose a mental health problem to their university. Reluctance to seek help is often caused by fear of stigma, retaliation, or the expected negative impacts on one's future career. 1.2. Why is the mental health of PhD students important for research policy? While a genuine concern for individual well-being is probably the most important reason why policymakers should pay attention to mental health problems, we argue that mental health of PhD students should be of concern for 3 additional main reasons. First, the work of PhD students themselves constitutes a major source of scientific advancement, as a doctoral dissertation requires an original contribution to the scientific knowledge base. Furthermore, the publication of dissertation results is a prerequisite for an academic career, making dissertation work a major contributor to academic output. Given the compelling evidence for the effects of mental health problems on individuals' research output, it is to be expected that a sizable cohort of PhD students suffering from mental health problems may affect the overall quality and quantity of individuals' research output. Second, as most PhD students are part of the larger research teams, whose composition determines scientific impact, PhD students with mental health issues may pose a considerable cost to research institutions and teams to date. Research policy efforts seem to have focused more on hard outcomes such as publications, impact factors, and patents, while ignoring the health effect of soft policy outcomes such as stress. However, soft outcomes may create serious financial costs for research institutions, and they will impact the functioning of larger research teams that the individual researchers are part of, thus also determining hard outcomes. So, that paper, Katya Levesque, Levecque, Sciencedirect, Research Policy, May 2017, Work Organization and Mental Health Problems in PhD Students. And now, I'm going to look for a few other stories because I'm very interested in hearing what it's either Poland or Hungary. I believe it was Poland told the EU or told something. It told Germany, we're simply more than willing to accept whatever sanctions you want to put on us. We're not taking Muslim refugees. So this is extraordinarily important. The fact that Poland is absolutely not backing down on this, that they're not afraid of the EU, which means that basically the EU and NATO, this is Poland and this is the Visegrad group saying to the EU and NATO, you guys really, really, really don't have a lot of power over us. We don't know why you keep thinking you're going to win this. You're fucking screwed. You've put your eggs into too many eggs into too few baskets. We know. We're not stupid. You're trying to play us like dummies, and you think that we're kicking your people out. We're kicking Soros out of all these countries. So you're going to fucking go screw. And this also means that Poland just told the fucking Pope. That's what just happened. The Pope, is washing these motherfuckers' feet every chance he gets. And Poland's like, yeah, this is what we think. Yeah, go take a flying one, Poppy. And, as politely as they can. Because that's one of the things, is they can't risk schism. But the thing is if the Pope keeps talking that shit, it's not going to be good when Catholic Poland has to side with Orthodox Russia against the secular socialists of northwestern Germany, northwestern Europe, and all that business. Because that's what this is really coming down to. That the Pope's a commie, that Europe's becoming a dysfunctional communist state that's being invaded by Saracens and Moors, such that they're just selling their daughters off to these guys fundamentally. Who even knows about the drug trafficking and human trafficking that's probably starting to build up, and then the weapons trafficking, of course, that incredibly lucrative business that is going on, and that where the weapons are and all that. Well, don't worry, Belgians, Swedes, all these people will find out one day where all the drugs and weapons are, when either they are being traded for them or when they finally start the physical removal policy. Turkey is okay. This thing that happened in Washington, D.C. with Turkey, that wasn't a mistake. The people who got their shit all fucked up by those Turkish security guards, yeah, that was meant. They wanted you to see that Turkey was willing to do that and go there. That was meant to be seen. That was effective, like attracting the fucking. That's the real deal of attracting totalitarians to beat up peaceful protesters. Now everybody's getting to see it. No, Turkey is becoming a totalitarian state. Their agent Smithagul looking crowd that went and started beating up at just civilians, and that the Washington D.C. police literally, they just didn't know what to do. They obviously, and people were pissed about this, but it's like, dude, what do you think they were thinking? They probably have never seen anything like this ever. These police, that they're like, what the fuck? These are all men in silk fucking suits. Like, where are they even coming from? Did you see the sheer number of them? The sheer number. That was another that was planned. The protesters knew whatever went on. The protesters knew there was going to be an army of fucking Turks there. And that those Turks, because they're such, because they're Muslims, they hate somebody so much that they can't control it at all times. It's a part of Islam. It just is. It's not, people could pretend they know something about Islam, that they own a Quran, that they follow the news about these people. And it's like, no. These people are always trying to kill someone. It's just who. Who are they willing to and then quite openly. They have no problem with violence against these people. More and more, we're finding this out every day. People who live in the United States, we're finding out, no, this person was born and raised in the United States, and they finally said on on their social network, they have no problem as a Muslim with like something horrible being done to, and then they say something, and it gets this person into trouble. And and there's all these liberals who are like, oh, it's some reactionary misquoted this person, and they're the racists, and it's like, no. This person's being a Muslim, and Islam is based on punishing other people for not being in the in group. That's it. It's all it is. It's the ultimate mystical religion. The ultimate. It's like Crowley has nothing on fucking Muhammad. He has nothing on the guy. No one will ever go on a killing spree for Thelema. And the Thelemists might think like, well, I mean, why would we want something like that? And it's like, no. If he was such a wicked dude, if he was something so fucking special, he would have created something like Islam. But no, Islam is that's why when almost all occultism and mysticism is almost entirely based on a milieu of people associated with mystical Islam. And so people need to get this understanding that what we are now seeing quite openly is the Islamic world having this prevalent idea, and then those who don't like the idea get killed. Well, now the Islamic world for hundreds, possibly hundreds of years, but for now what looks like about 20 generations, let's say 20 generations, has bred for being a dumbass who will club any neighbor to death for almost any reason that the local imam says. That's what they've bred for. Because when you look at it, there's almost not a single invention from their part of the world over about the last 200 years, other than maybe the e-brick, that any of us give a shit about. Like the hookah, the e-brick, maybe like glass pipes or something. I mean, so, none of us give a shit about anything that comes out of that world. While stuff that came out of America, out of the melting pot of rationality, Christianity, and mostly Western European ideas under the governance of the rule of law, that's everybody's trying to imitate something about our lives on a daily basis. And all those countries that aren't trying to imitate kind of relatively North American norms, the more they try to move away from that, sort of the more insane and unlikable it is to be in that country, such that people will try to leave there in mass numbers, and especially if they're intelligent, and that the rest of the world has to then ask, well, are you as backwards as all the other people in your country? All these things are bred for. Just like this PhD, these students. Well, no. Nuttery is bred for. Being a nutter is bred for. This is actually something that people aren't getting about feminists. That feminists are, unlikable. Often they're fuggos. They're not really self-improvement, like driven people. They're mental. They have to turn everything, no matter how clear the evidence is, they have to turn it into some, no, I'm the martyr here. I am the martyr here. All of this is just mental illness. They inherited it from, most likely their mother completed like their dad's kind of weak-willed. He's more than willing to let his daughter be a nutter, and the mom's a nutter, and they combine those two. People aren't getting this is the reason why autism is becoming so prevalent. And what it is an autistic person saw another autistic person, they had a kid. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, fuck you, blah, blah. No, that's the only way it works. This is the same reason why most couples who, if a black person is married, 95% of the time it's to another black person. And it's simply one of those things. And when you look at, black people who stay married, they're all black. They're completely black couples. And it's because this is called in-group preference. It's not racism. It's in-group preference. So this is one of the hopes of the right. The right has replacement and just beyond replacement children. The left does not have children, or they don't have up to replacement. And then it's also this. It doesn't fucking matter. Why do you think they chose each other? They chose each other because both of them loathe normal, all the norms. They loathe that there's people who will show up to work on time. They loathe that there's people who are black people are nice to white people. They hate that. They want black people to be George Jefferson at best. Now, what you talking about? What you saying to me? What? Huh? That's what they want. They constantly want some Nell Carter shit. No, I don't take none of that shit, Whitey. That's because they think that's what black people are supposed to act like. Because of course, in some way, shape, or form, they've become fascinated with mentally ill black people. And it's because liberals that now we're seeing it. No, these people are completely right. It is a disorder of thinking. It is the hatred of in-group, and that's disordered. And this is why they usually don't have enough children to replace them, or just replace them. And usually when they do, it's many of the manosphere and red pill people, you're noticing this about, this is some of our dads. Come on. This is some of our dads. This is some of our good friends. Some of our good friends. That we know. It's like, no, this person's got a fucking plastic spinal column. And their kid's going to fucking flatten that. And they're going to they're going to go along and they're going to get along. They're going to say, yes, ma'am. And that's that is how it's going to work, or she's going to leave him. Because we're all growing up, and, people grow up and you just get used to this. No, all she's got to do is fucking leave. Because that's the way the world really works. Now, you see, people who are traditionalists or religious, they wouldn't do that. They don't want to. Because that then brings group shame. And the group shame also has to fall on the woman. It ruins the whole group construct because she is no longer a mother. It's very important that people get this. Traditionalists are still operating firmly on matriarchy protected by a patriarchy. The disordered have this mishmash thing, and so their kids won't even know what to do with their genitals correctly. Or they will become ultra reactionaries because they'll have to. They will have no order. They won't have genetically a ordered group they fit within. This is also why there's this thing of this white identitarian thing going on, because now people who are of mixed European groups and high intelligence, they've been bred for such high intelligence that now they just can't fit in. They can't just be like, oh, well, I hang out with my friends, we play this sport, we watch this sport, we drink this beer, we meet at this time, we all go to this church. There's people, and everyone knows these people who they kind of just fit into the lifestyle of the place they lived. They just did. They're perfectly fucking happy. And then there's people who are like, I get it. I'm one of those people, but I don't really quite fit in. It's like, and as you start walking through it, is your family kind of smart and kind of got a wild hair to them? Were they the travelers? Were your parents the hippies? Things like that. Well, they bred for whatever they bred for, and that's why you're not fitting in. And that's what it is. That is another. It is what it is. Just like autism, extreme autism. Nobody on poll wants to be extremely autistic. We've all seen that kid in school. Nobody wants to be that kid. You know how much it hurts to just watch that fucking, what it fucking did to you to see that. To just be like, oh my fucking God, dude. Like, fuck. No, and you can't laugh. You can't get mad at people like that. Like, this person's trapped. You're a little autistic. You're at that edge where you would have to choose somebody to breed that out of your line. But that's the hard part. You probably won't. You will probably gravitate towards someone who is also has a lot of that in their line. And it's because that's natural. That's why people who have ever been around, especially a lot of, like, I worked in a kosher shop once. There, you notice that really smart rabbis tend to have some. It's not a good looking bunch. Let's just say they're not pretty people. Okay, the Orthodox are not exactly handsome. Let's just put it there. And a lot of the rabbis are pretty fucking strange. There's stuff they do. There's little mannerisms they have that you're like, I would swear you are spurged. You are spurged out like fuck. Yes, they are, because Jews don't commit infanticide. So, and this is well known in European history. So you might be breeding generations of spurged out but extremely brilliant rabbis. So these people can remember the whole damn Bible. They can remember the whole thing. But it's also, they're spurged out so bad that they would almost never be able to hold anything but an extremely highly cognitive job that they would need other people to help them physically with, because of how totally spurged out they are. And so, yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about bred for traits, because stuff's been getting brought up about the, like, how often mixed people are bonkers. I've been thinking about, like, why you get these, like, sort of this, that feminism seems to have been real strong, and now it seems to be losing a lot of its grip on the popular culture. And I just started really, like, rolling it around my head, and it's like, no, this hasn't been bred out. This is solidly that matriarchy is having to form itself in a new way. It's having to figure itself out in a new way, and also that who in groups are is hard to figure out. Like at present time, and this one I might need a little help for people to kind of give me their feedback on this. genetic in groups. Like white people, who is that, like white alt-righters, white libertarians, white conservatives and traditionalists, they want certain other kinds of mostly white people to breed with. How do you get that? Like for Black Americans, this is obviously almost totally shot. Like Black America, you could see this is shot. That you have that now it's a fucking crapshoot for any man who wants to have well-bred, well-socialized offspring. It's a fucking crapshoot. You really have to find like you have to know a Black woman is it like you have to really, really, really check the credentials, because the likelihood that you're getting somebody who might just be fucking totally bananas is just way too high, who will fuck around and raise your kid to be a sass mouth and a dumbass and make excuses and be a dindu. That's on the women. That's on the women. And remember, big part of this is they're putting in key DNA, and that locks it down. Remember, because in our part of the world, the women pick the mate. We don't have matchmaking. No, the women are picking the mate. This is a rule of law society. It's based on the general British norms of women picking the mate that they want the most. And we also have chemical birth control and physical birth control. So this is that there's all these populations that are breeding, that the women are choosing to breed with who they choose. And that it's looking like, we have this generation of especially, in the Black community, we're seeing like violence at a level, inordinate levels of not just violence, but insanely poorly thought out violence, where people are like hitting their teacher in school, like beating their teacher down. And it's like, you have to be at school the next, these people know who you are. Like, how don't you understand that you're probably going to go to jail? And then they don't, of course, because then you're dealing with the larger tribe of white society that is protecting these extremely violent outgroup minorities that are in relatively smaller number, but are extraordinarily violent. So who is that tribe? These liberals and these and it's not just liberals. There's also obviously GOP members in there who are white people who have no problem with a violent outgroup beating up people within their group that the outgroup sees the white tribe, and they're like, let's beat up the teacher, let's beat up the cop, let's beat them up. And that the white tribe does not see themselves as an in-group, except when it comes to this, well, we have to forgive them because they're our violent pets and our mascots. And if we punish them, then who are we? We're the group that allows people to beat us up, and then we hand their mothers money and beg them, please tell your kids to not hit us so hard. Please tell them not burn everything down. And so I've just been rolling a lot of this around, bred for traits that you're seeing groups do things that are just inexplicably strange for a group to do. Like what Europe is, like the French voting base, like that's just amazing. Well, there's no way around. Like, no, you all have you've actually lost physical control of Paris. You don't have physical control of Paris. The British can't stop the selling of their daughters into prostitution. But these people are still sitting there. Oh, but the way you know you're British is that you forgive the Moors for raping your wife. No. What is the French way is to clap art. This is art. When they kill you with bombs and trucks and they mow you down and they burn down your churches and they tell the Jews to get out of the country, you see, that's art. Oui, monsieur. No, yes, you see, it's art. this is bred for this weakness, this low muscle mass, high voicedness, go along to get along, do anything that that obviously the insane women who are loose and slutty and really are don't make long-term good health decisions, because that's of course why we're facing the problem we're facing with medicine. This all has to do with baby boomer women being like the size of furniture, and just, I mean, like this is, yeah. Remember, these are people who started eating like the French because the French were thin. Then they started eating like the Japanese because the Japanese were thin. This has never been an issue of like, oh no, the baby boomers were notoriously healthy and fit. No, they've literally done everything they can to ruin their health outcomes. And now what we're doing is that there's a whole bunch of old women who want to just live like children for like another 20 or 30 years until they fucking die, and they want everyone else to pay for it. That's all this is. Because the men just die. The men don't carry on for 10, 20 years. They just fucking die by the numbers. They're sick for a short while and die. Like when it comes down to it, I think white men of the baby boom generation will only be retired for like 10 years at the most. And then they'll be dead. Like they'll retire at 65 and the payout will last for about 10 years. No. Their wife will get that. And their wife will throw all that money into a fucking fire called her giant jiggly form, and all the money everybody else has to pay for her giant jiggly form to make it through the last portion of her life. All this is going to come apart not too long. Without debt, without all the artifice of the first world, we wouldn't be able to pull this off. Women who were bonkers, women who, like would fuck around, they would be shamed into where in society they make sense. And now that is basically starting to happen. As it's becoming harder and harder for the millennials to fake it till they make it, they can barely even live. They can barely rent in small towns anymore. In Eugene, Oregon, right now, if you are a couple and you want to have like a 1-bedroom, this is like $1,000, $1,000 or more, usually or more a month in relatively rural Oregon. And it's not going to work anymore. This is something's going to give. And I'm thinking pretty darn soon. So this was just stuff that was running through my head today. Sorry if it's disjointed. I was drinking some coffee. I was looking at millennial woes. And millennial woes always gets me like, we must save the world. God! G.K. Chesterton. We will save the world. People will read G.K. again. You will be vindicated, Chesterton. You will be vindicated. No. But all right, later on.